Hello everybody, this is Dr. Urushi Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Jagannath University, Jaipur. In today's session, we'll look at the role played by Mahatma Gandhi as a journalist and why Mahatma Gandhi is known as the greatest mass communicators of all times. So let's start. First, let us understand who was Gandhi. Apart from being a national leader, social reformer, Gandhiji was a great communicator. He, through his kirtans and satsangs, were able to put across the message to the masses. He is recognized that the communication is the most effective tool to shape the opinion and mobilize the popular support. Gandhi's journalism belonged to an era when there was neither radio nor television. Such was the power of his soul communication that whatever he said and wrote reached the farthest corner of this country within days and to entire world thereon. So such was an aura of Gandhiji that he used his communication skills as a tool to shape public opinion, mobilize people towards a common cause. And it was through his through his this ability that by using the weapons of non-violence and truth, he was able to mobilize the masses of the country to fight against the British rule and finally gain independence. Now let us see how Gandhi defined journalism. According to him, journalism was means to serve people with information regarding what was going around them and around the world in true, accurate, and simplified manner. He wrote simply and clearly, but forcefully, with passion and burning indignation. It is very clear that, according to him, the writing has to be simple so that the common man could understand what you were talking about. It should be clear without any confusion so that the clear message reaches the masses. But it has to be forceful and motivating enough, full of passion, so that he could so that it could compel the people to act accordingly. For him, editorial independence, adherence to truth, and self restraint were three overriding considerations of journalism. Mahatma Gandhi always thought that editorial policies should be free, should be independent from any control, so that the newspaper or the publication can come out with an accurate, truth, balanced, and objective form of reporting which supports truth, and also there has to be self restraint on the side of the publication houses so that they refrain from indulging in any kind of sensationalism or inciting violence, etc. Gandhi's approach to journalism was totally devoid of ambitions. To him, it was not a vocation to earn the livelihood. He felt that running a newspaper was a task having such a bearing on public welfare that to undertake them for earning one's livelihood would defeat the primary aim behind them. He was of opinion that whenever you are running a newspaper or coming out with a newspaper, it has to be for the welfare of the public in terms of information that you are giving them. The moment it becomes a tool of livelihood, the commercial values start adding on, beating the primary objective of starting the newspaper. He also said newspapers were meant primarily to educate the people and familiarize them with the contemporary history. Now, the basic objectives of newspaper from the point of view of Mahatma Gandhi were: first, to understand the popular feeling and give an expression to it. It is said that newspaper is the watchdog of the society, or it's the mirror of the society. So whatever is going on in the society, whatever is going on in the say the area, it has to be given an expression. An expression means it has to be brought out so that people are aware of what is happening around them. Second is to arouse among the public certain desirable sentiments. First, you have to understand the feeling. If we talk about, say, during that time, the popular feeling was there was an unrest against the colonial rule. There was unrest against the Britishers. So this was the popular feeling. Now giving an expression to it meant that the newspapers highlighted these atrocities of the British government so that they could arouse a desirable sentiment amongst the people, the sentiment of nationalism, the sentiment of Swaraj, and expose popular defects fearlessly, which meant that newspaper of those times and newspaper even of today expose or bring to light the basic and the major problems that the society faces, be it political, economic, and social, fearlessly, without any fear, without any say fear, without any uh, uncertainty, without any unrest. They bring about the uh, atrocities which the society is facing, be it political, social, or economical. So, according to Mahatma Gandhi, newspaper has to understand the pulse of the society. Once they have understood the pulse of the society, the popular feeling, the popular say feeling maybe of happiness, feeling maybe of unrest, that has to be identified. Once it is identified, it has to be given a common sentiment so that it can be aroused, it can be brought about, so as to bring about the change in the mindset or mold the public opinion. And lastly, it has to bring about whatever is going around in the society, good, bad, or ugly, to light fearlessly. Gandhi as a mass communicator. Gandhi, in his journalistic career spanning nearly 4 decades, edited 6 journals. He used a combination of three kinds of media channels: interpersonal, spiritual, meditation, prayer meetings, public meetings, word of mouth, and personal letters. So, interpersonal media or interpersonal means of communication was used by Gandhiji during his morning kirtans, right? He made sure that people meditate, prayer meetings, there were the public meetings where he could bring about what he thought. He could make people understand the value of truth and non-violence, and how these two tools can be implemented in the scenario of that time, so as to bring about or mobilize the public for a common cause of freedom. Then he used traditional folk media like songs, dance, drama, street plays, and mass media like newspaper, walkies, books, radio, films to reach both the urban and the rural masses, with the message to bring about social change, which means to end social evils from the society, at the same time mobilize the crowd, mobilize the public for a common cause, which is freedom. So Gandhi's early interest with printed word began when he started contributing article titled "The Indian Vegetarian" in 1891 to Journal of London Vegetarian Society, The Vegetarian. So from here on he started writing for the printed world. In South Africa, he was involved in the struggle for the rights of the Indians in the country. This basically started when he faced apartheid in South Africa, which was discrimination on the basis of skin color, or we call racial discrimination. So he raised his voice against it, and he became one of the most sought after writers to write on this issue. So his views were sought by several newspapers, and he also served as a South African correspondent for Dadabhai Naoroji's Indian that was being published from England in that time. So during the Second Anglo-Boer War, ranging from 1899 to 1902, Gandhi wrote his accounts of his involvement in ambulance corps for the Times of India. So this is how Mahatma Gandhi was introduced to the printed world, where he began as a contributor of an article, then he assumed the role of a correspondent, a South African correspondent who was bringing to light the atrocities faced by the dark-skinned people because of the apartheid there. Then he also started writing his account of what he was going through, his involvements in the ambulance corps for the Times of India. Now, Mahatma Gandhi started several publications. We'll now look at the major publications which were started by Mahatma Gandhi, what was the focus of that publication, and how these publications brought about changes. The first in this line is the Indian Opinion, which was started in 1903. It began as a weekly started by Gandhi with the help of other Indians in South Africa. So the Indian Opinion originated in South Africa. It was published in English, Gujarati, Hindi, and Tamil. And the basic objective or focus of the Indian Opinion was to give recognition to Indian community in South Africa, because Indian community along with the dark skinned people were facing apartheid. So it through this newspaper he wanted that the Indian community must be recognized, and it served as a platform where the Indian community could voice out their feelings, and they were specially devoted to its cause. Cause was to give recognition, to highlight the Indian community in South Africa. As the editor, Gandhi's influence on the journal were tone and tenor was huge. He did much to serve as the voice of the Indian community and relay its views to the powers that be. So it became as one of the platforms to highlight the views of the Indian community in South Africa, in regional as well as in the English language, being Gujarati, Hindi, Tamil, and English. Then we move to next publication, which is Young India, which began in 1919. So this was an English daily which helped to shape educated Indians' thoughts and worldview. So the target of the Young India was to target the youth who had an exposure to the Western world, so that their views, their ideas could be molded for a cause. A cause was self-government, Swaraj, and it desired to popularize India's demand of self-governance or Swaraj. So these educated Indians, these belong to the elite class. They had an exposure to the Western world. They understood the concept of freedom, equality, and now Mahatma Gandhi was targeting these Indians so that he could shape up their thoughts, he could mold their thoughts towards Swaraj and self rule. He used it as a vehicle to spread his unique ideology and thoughts regarding the use of non-violence. He used Young India to spread his unique ideology and thoughts regarding the use of non-violence in organizing movements, and urged readers to consider, organize, and plans for India's eventual independence from the British. So this is how the Young India worked. Young India targeted youth who were educated, who had an exposure, and now these youth could turn up as an opinion leaders to mobilize the masses around them, give them the idea, help them to understand the idea of Swaraj, and unite them through the tool of non-violence to fight against the British rule. Next was Navjeevan. It again started in 1919. It was a weekly in Gujarati. The main aim of this newspaper was to promote and spread peaceful means for the attainment of Hind Swaraj, which means that through this paper he wanted people to understand, promote, and spread the awareness regarding non-violence as one of the tools for attaining Swaraj. To spread spinning wheel and khadi, to popularize khadi, the aim of the newspaper was to popularize the use of khadi and to spread the use of spinning wheel so that the population becomes self-reliant. Then to remove the concept of untouchability, because it is one of the social evils which was dividing the Indian society into number of castes and creed. Now if we raise above this discrimination, then only we could progress as a nation. So he wanted that the people must understand that the concept of untouchability is a concept which is pulling us backward. Then he also encouraged unity among Muslims and Hindus, because by that time Britishers have sown in the seeds of divide and rule. So in order to counter their uh, policy, Mahatma Gandhi, through his newspaper Navjeevan in Gujarati, was trying to promote the idea of Hindu Muslim unity and to uplift the ways for the advancement of women, like opposition of child marriage, encouraging women education, spreading the idea of widow remarriage. Now, for any nation to progress, it is very important that the women of that particular nation or society are educated and they're self reliant. Keeping that in mind, because that he has seen when Mahatma Gandhi had an exposure to the Western world, where he went to South Africa to study and become a barrister. So he was of the view that the women must be given equal rights. So he was against child marriage. He was against, say, widows being treated badly. So he promoted widow remarriage. He wanted women to be empowered. So he wanted that there should be an education, or women should be educated in his own country. Next he started Harijan. Harijan, as the name itself means, children of the god. Now Harijan was Mahatma Gandhi's famous English language weekly, which began on 11th February 1933. The objective was to promote fight against untouchability and to liberate those who were discriminated. So we'll here it is much more clear that how much Mahatma Gandhi wanted that the untouchability or discrimination on the basis of creed, class, and caste must not exist in the country. That he started a newspaper by the name Harijan. He gave new name to the untouchables as Harijan, like they were children of the god and they should not be discriminated. So Harijan had an enormous impact on Hindu society, deliberately pricking the consciousness of the Orthodox community. So he wanted that the Orthodox community or the Orthodox society should break out from this shackles of untouchability of caste system and accept people as children of God. The articles were written by Mahatma Gandhi himself and his associate Charles Ferrer Andrew. Rabindranath Tagore provided poems on untouchability for most of the issues. So, in order to bring about the consciousness, in order to bring about the change in the society, he used not only his own writings but also writings of famous people, so that who had established themselves as an opinion leaders so as to change and mold the opinion of the public. The newspaper continued till 1948 and was also published in Hindi and Gujarati. Translation: Harijan Sevak and Harijan Bandhu. So Harijan Sevak was in Hindi and Harijan Bandhu was in uh, Gujarati. So we have seen that Mahatma Gandhi always conceptualized journalism as a means to bring about social change through accurate, truthful, and clear writings so that people understand what is going around in the society. And it also he also highlighted that name of the journalism is to give expression to the opinion, which means to express the opinion so that this opinion reaches n number of people and it brings about a social change. Thank you.